Friends, I'm pleased to share God's words with you this morning. The theme for our meditation today is Good Shepherd, Jesus the Good Shepherd. Life is a struggle. We all go through difficulties in life. In the midst of this COVID-19 crisis, many people struggle. Some people have lost their loved ones and they mourn the death of their loved one. Some are hospitalized and some others live in fear. We live in the midst of uncertainties. When is this all going to end? When can we meet our wider family, friends? When can we live in company, in relationship with one another? All these big questions are still there. Some people think life has ups and downs. We go through ups and downs of life. One day can be good, the next day might be a bad day, and we go through the seasons of life. Some others think life is like a railway track. Two tracks go parallel to each other. One symbolizes the good things in life, the happiness, the joy we have in life. The other track symbolizes the sorrow, the sadness, and the struggles of life. Now, whatever way we look at life, the truth is, life is difficult, life is a struggle. And these times, nobody can deny that. It is in the midst of this life, Jesus comes to the scene to say, I am the Good Shepherd. I give my life for others. Good shepherds are the shepherds who look after their sheep. The bad shepherds are thieves. They look after themselves and not the sheep. And in this Palestinian context, where there were good shepherds and not so good shepherds, Jesus comes to say, I am the good shepherd. You see, even sheep go through difficulties in life. They have to brave the weather. The sheep can get hurt. They can fall into pits. And the good shepherd is always there, looking after the sheep and granting protection, safety, and security for the sheep. So Jesus, knowing this Palestinian situation, says, look at me, look at God, I am the good shepherd. What could this mean to us today? In John chapter 10, Jesus says, the good shepherd calls his sheep by name. Calling someone by name in Palestinian culture meant you know them. You know them so well and you want to be in touch with that person. It meant relationship. It meant friendship. It meant there is some intimacy there. You know them personally. They are not a stranger. You know them so very well. That's what calling by name meant. For other types of relationships, friendships, there are different words they could use to call a person. But calling by name meant intimacy. Jesus says, The good shepherd calls his sheep by name, which means God calls you and me by name. He knows you so very well. He wants to have a relationship with you. He wants to have an intimate friendship with you. That's what calling by name meant. Now he also says the sheep knows his voice. So they listen to his voice. They don't know a stranger's voice, but they know the good shepherd's voice. Unlike in Britain, in some other places, in Palestine, usually sheep were kept for milk and wool. This meant the same sheep would stay with the same shepherd for many, many, many years. So over the years, they develop a friendship, a bond between them. The shepherd knows the sheep and the sheep knows the shepherd. They are like friends. It's more like keeping a pet. It's not like an animal that's kept for the meat, but it's kept for friendship. And the sheep trusts this shepherd and stays there and gives the wool to the sheep. And the challenge for us now is, what kind of relationship do we have with Jesus? Jesus says, I call you by name. I want to have an intimate relationship with you. But do you want me to lead you? Do you trust me? Just as a sheep stands in front of the shepherd, putting complete trust in the shepherd, do you and I stay before God, or listen to God, or go where He leads us, putting our complete trust in Jesus Christ? That's the challenge which John chapter 10 brings to us this morning. Listening to God calling you and me by name. Often we pray and we talk to God. We offer our prayers to God. But do we take the time to listen to God calling us by name? To listen to His voice leading us? The more the time we spend with God, the more we learn His voice. The more we learn to differentiate God's voice and our own voice, or the voice of somebody else. So we have to communicate with God when we pray. It's not just talking to God. That's one-way communication. That's not that good. But listening to God makes the communication complete. And Jesus says, my sheep. John chapter 10 also tells us that Jesus is the gate. Jesus himself says, I am the gate. The sheep that enters through me will be safe. We see so many gates. Different houses have gates in front of them, and other big buildings have big gates. Different types, different shapes, different colors of gates. We see this in our everyday life. Now Jesus says, I am the real gate, because the sheep that enters through me will be safe, will be secure. He invites you and me to enter through Him, to enter into the security, into the protection, into the safety which He alone can offer. When people come to the church here, sometimes they ask me for the key. There are many keys here, and nobody has ever asked me which is the key for the church door. Obviously, it's the big one there. But now, even churches are closed. We had to lock the church because of the pandemic. We want people to be safe and not infect each other. So the church is now locked and we can't go in. Well, I never expected when I am here or while I am in this world, the church would be locked in this way and we can't enter into the church on a Sunday morning to worship. But Jesus says, I am the real gate. My gate is never locked. Day and night, my gate is open. I am open. Jesus, in other words, says, I am welcoming. I am here for you anytime during the day, anytime during the night, 24/7. I am the gate and I am never locked. So do you want to take this offer to go to Jesus, open the gate and enter into the safety, into the security which Jesus offers for you and me this morning? I am the gate. The sheep that enters through me will be safe. Jesus figuratively, metaphorically says, come into me. I will keep you safe. The final and the third point I wish to make is the Good Shepherd giving his life for the sheep. In the wild, when shepherds kept sheep, wild animals could come to get sheep. Easy prey. And so the shepherds now and then had to fight with the wild animals and drive them away, keeping the sheep safe. And occasionally in this fight, the shepherd could get hurt. And very occasionally, the shepherd could even lose his life. Because the wild animal can let go of the sheep and get hold of the shepherd. And Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. And the good shepherd gives his life for the sheep. Jesus not only said that, but also offered himself on the cross for you and for me. In 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 24, Peter writes, He himself bore our sins in his body on the tree, so that we might die to sins and live for righteousness. By his wounds you have been healed. By his wounds you have been healed. I know a story of a primary school child not liking the face of her mother. The reason was the mother's face had so many scars, so many stitches and wounds, the scars following the wounds. So she didn't look very good. And this child always wondered, why doesn't her mother look very beautiful like the mothers of other children? And one day she took the courage and told her mom, Mom, why don't you look better? Why is your face not beautiful? Why is it like this? And her mother told her, I have something which I haven't told you until today. When you were a little baby, one day our house was in fire. You were a tiny baby inside the house, and I was outside. Looking at the fire, I couldn't leave you inside. I ran into the house, got hold of you, and kept you in safety. But the fire caught hold of my clothes and my face. I got back out. I was safe, but my flesh was in got hurt. I got hurt by the fire, and it got burned. Then I had to go to hospital, stay there for many weeks, and they did what they could do. And that's the reason my face looks a bit different from the face of other people. Listening to that story, this child said, "Mom, your face is the most beautiful face in the world. I haven't seen any other face as beautiful as yours." Peter writes, "By his wounds, you and I are saved." Jesus could have kept himself safe rather than taking the cross for you and for me. But his love was so great, he took the cross for you and for me so that we are safe. So Jesus did not just say that Good Shepherd gives his life for the sheep, but he himself gave his life for the safety of all who put their trust in this God, in Jesus Christ. So friends, life can be difficult, life is a struggle, but in the midst of this, Jesus comes to us to tell us, "I am the Good Shepherd. I know your name. I call you by name. Do you want to respond to my voice? I am the gate. Come into me. I will keep you safe." And above all, he says, Good Shepherd gives his life for the sheep. And by his wounds, we are safe. We are granted life with him in this world and the world to come. This reading comes just after Easter for a reason. It's to teach us that the risen Jesus is the Good Shepherd. With him, difficulties, pains, struggles, worries, anxieties, fears, uncertainties, and even death wouldn't have the last word. With him, those who die will, even though they die, will live. And those who put their trust in him, they don't die, but will live with him for all eternity. That is the promise the Good Shepherd offers to all who put their trust in him. So may God help us to hear the Good Shepherd call us by name. May God help us to see that the door is open. Jesus, the gate is open. And may God help us to see Jesus inviting us with his hands wide open, telling us that with him we are safe. With him there is only life and life and life in all its fullness and in all its abundance. May God help us to choose wisely, put our trust in this Jesus Christ, so that we would have life in this world and life for all eternity. May God bless us. Amen.